Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Lion fans? Welcome. We're here down and dirty. This guy, Herman Moore. Who is this guy?
Scott
Scott
Moore.
Man, come on, man. You know what it is. What's up, Scott Mitchell?
How's it going, Herman?
Hey, I'm good, brother. How you been?
Not bad at all.
Hey, what's up, Lions?
Yeah,
Lions Nation. And those of you who aren't, welcome anyway.
this is always fun to do this, and we really like it. Like these lives, we love the interaction with the fans. A lot of exciting things going on in the NFL and in sports in general. But I got something. We're going to talk a lot about the Lions. They're off for the next 6 weeks. That's going to be a lot of good conversation about kind of some of their parting interviews. Coach Campbell, a lot of the players shared their thoughts about what they've gone through and then what they expect for the season. So that'll be a lot of fun. Chrissy is going to be our moderator today, and she's going to kind of keep us on point. But before we get to Chrissy, there was something that happened today in the NFL. I think it's really significant, and that is Brendan Sorsby, who is considered one of the top quarterbacks in college football. He was at Cincinnati, went to Texas Tech. They gave him a bunch of money, like in the neighborhood of over $5 million. And he was betting, and it wasn't small. It was like almost 9,000 bets.
Wow.
Like it's crazy what he was doing. And I watched him play quite a bit last year. He was in the Big 12, and so I got to watch him and pay attention to him. He was a very talented player. He was going to do very well at Texas Tech, and of course everyone threw a fit because a district judge said he was eligible to play next year after the NCAA considered him ineligible to play next season. So he just to avoid everything, he just goes, "I'm going to go to the NFL." And the NFL said, "Today, not so fast, Mr. Sorsby." And I thought it was interesting because, the NFL is all about, we don't care what your sins are. We don't care what you've done in your past. We'll take anybody. Give us your tired, your poor, your gamblers, your abusers, all those things. The NFL said no. Said, "We're sorry, we're not having a supplemental draft." So Brendan Sorsby is going to have to sit out and not play this year. And the NFL said, "Look, there's an accountability to things in our league, and gambling's a big part of the NFL. There's a very tight, deep relationship there." And I thought it was interesting. The NFL said no to Brendan Sorsby with all of his kind of issues. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Is that the right move? Is that a good move? Is that a surprising move to you, considering the NFL kind of likes, they'll take anyone?
I don't know if the NFL should just take anyone, but I will say this. I think it's a good move, and it's because you want to make sure that there's a brand standard. And the NFL, I think, has been trying to be conscious of that. It used to be that there was a time when they would just, kind of brush it under the rug and let it be whatever it is. Hey, that's not on our watch. That was a different time period. But when you bring it in, you're also bringing that in to the league as well. And so if you bring in a player who has a great story, that story follows that player into the NFL. If you bring in a player that has, some history that may not be as becoming as the NFL would want, and they bring that to the party, then that's what's going to be talked about more. And that becomes in alignment with that brand. And I think most of these organizations, these teams, the sponsors, everyone, they're trying to align a certain way. And, I don't think they're starving for money. And they're not going to compromise their brand for one player.
If there's anything that will kill the NFL, it's players gambling on games, because the game loses all integrity. Everyone goes, "Oh, it's fixed. The outcome's already predetermined." We lose interest in it. Everyone does. If the outcome is known beforehand and you're watching it, it's a major no-no in all of television, sports, all of that stuff. So it's a big deal. And when you're Brendan Sorsby and you're out there, betting 9,000 times on and a lot of them are on your own team.
Right.
It's not like you've just all of a sudden reformed yourself. I mean, it's a problem that will persist, and a gambling addiction is mean. It's a tough thing to overcome. I remember Art Schlichter, who played at Ohio State, was a very talented quarterback, and he had gambling issues, and he just never made it in the NFL, and just had a heck of a time coming to terms with things, but he was a very, very talented player. So gambling is a no-no in the NFL. And I thought it was interesting that the NFL just said, no, we're not going to let you in, Brendan. Now he may go in next year's regular draft. We'll see what happens there and who really is interested in. Okay, so right now, anyways, welcome everyone. We're so glad you could join us. We're glad to be here. We're having a good time. I'm having a great time, by the way. I passed the kidney stone today, and I'm just telling you, my life is different. It's like being born again. Praise the Lord, hallelujah! I am born again. Anyway, so Chrissy is moderating today, and she has some words of wisdom and a direction she wants to take us. What do you got for us, Chrissy?
Well, not a problem.
About your roster when last season ended, which was a disappointment, of course, but compare that to how you feel about your roster now. Is it completely different? Is it still unknown? Like, did you get any revelations?
Well, we certainly were younger than we were, and that there's good things about that, the youth, and then there's things about it that we're going to have to work through because it's about, there's going to be a learning curve for some guys, development and how fast they can go, but we're not going to let anybody hold us hostage. That's not going to happen. So, I like the group we have. Nothing is set in stone. There's some guys that you feel pretty good about. I'd be shocked if they don't win their jobs. I think you guys know who those guys are. But we have a lot of open battles, and our eyes are open, and we're going to give these guys an opportunity. And it's the guys that are the most consistent, that can be trusted, that do it time and time again, that are the guys we're going to lean on, and they're going to be part of the core group we have here.
One of the things that this isn't about his answer. This is just an observation about like body language. It's like coaches get up to the podium, and he's just kind of bracing himself. He put his hands on the podium. He's like, okay, what question are you going to ask, and how am I going to respond to it? It's not so much just like bring on the questions. I'll answer your questions. It's just there. I don't want to say it's defensive, but it's this. I'm preparing myself to give you an answer that sounds really intelligent, sounds like I'm really saying anything, but it isn't even remotely what I think or really believe. And I think most coaches are that way. And I think the ones that aren't, I think Bill Belichick was an honest person. And that's why I think he just never said anything, because he's like, if I say something, I'm just going to speak on, because he's just blunt. He doesn't know how to be any other way. I think Coach Campbell is a little bit like this. The other thing I noticed, Herman, is his voice gotten deeper? Like it seemed like, I don't know, there was like a richness to his voice, like a depth to like, I don't know, like he matured or something. Like, did his voice change or something? It just seemed, and I know this isn't answering the question, but I just, to me,
as it relates to the coach,
it's always funny how coaches are in press conferences. They're looking for a way to spin a narrative all the time. And I just love to see that when they do that. And I love Coach. I think he's a great spin doctor, as it were, when he likes to tell a narrative about the Lions.
Well, all coaches are going to give you a certain brand. They're going to give you a certain expectation. And so here's my take. He's tired of answering the questions. I think he's been bombarded more so than we probably realize with, the opportunities that this team has had over the last few years. And not just going to the playoffs, not just being a team that has really done all these great things, but when do the fans expect them to win an actual NFC championship and then also have the opportunity to the Super Bowl? That's where I think he's coming from. The frustrations just started to mount a lot.
Don't you think that the Lions fans are in a cruel position? And I say that because it felt like the Lions were on their way to the Super Bowl. I think everyone in America was pulling for the Detroit Lions. And it almost feels like that window has closed. like the same chemistry.
Man, don't start saying the windows is closed.
I understand that. I'm just saying
people don't like closed windows.
I'm just making an observation
unless
here.
Unless you're keeping the bugs out.
I think the Lions are really close to being in a cruel position, is all I'm saying. That it's like, if they don't come through like this year in a big way, and really, I mean, it almost feels like to me they're in a position where you got to go to the Super Bowl or it's just not going to be a great year. I really feel that way. And I know, see, I think Coach Campbell is actually tempering expectations. We're young. Look, we're young people. And all that means is that just gives me a runway, because if I'm young, well, our guys don't know how to play.
So you're saying,
yet.
wait a minute, so let me make sure I'm understanding. So you're thinking it's more of a coach looking for longevity and tempering the expectations, or are you saying that it's more, as they said in Fargo, what are you saying? You ever seen that? Like so.
Well, I don't think I agree with your analysis here. I think we got a murder. Actually, what I'm saying is, I think it's a savvy statement by Coach Campbell.
Okay.
I think he's saying, I understand the excitement of the fans and the exuberance of the fans and the expectation of the fans. And I think he's like tempering it a little bit, like, we're not going to make any excuses, but we're young, and some guys got to come through for us. And we got to have some things happen, but it might not be what you all hope it is this year.
All right. Well, I know a lot of people. We appreciate you guys, all of you that are joining us today. Just pop in on our live. We enjoy going live, by the way. So again, continue to follow us on the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell, Herman Moore. We want to get to, first and foremost, thank you all. Dave, Allen, let's see, we have Jay. Thanks a lot, Michael, for coming in. And we got some people that are, Scott said that was well said. It was great. I'm glad you like Fargo, Jay. I mean, Fargo's one of those movies I love. You darn tootin'. So people want to know that about me. But
so I believe that's Mrs. Lundegaard in the cabin, and into your buddy in the wood chipper.
We love movies, by the way. So for those of you that like that, that's we go off record here and we just go on our own little path. But there's dynamics that are at play when it comes to coaches. And when you think about coaches and you talk about coaches that make a difference in ball clubs, people always ask me this question. They go, you've had of the coaches you've had, wouldn't you love to play for a guy like Coach Campbell? Yes. But I also know that beyond the head coach, it comes down, I want to know my position coach is important to me, because that's the person you're going to spend a lot of time with. Yeah. The offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator is the next person you're going to spend a lot of time with. We talk a lot about players, and when we look at the draft and you look at the fact they came in and we got a glimpse of what these players are going to look like and what the team's going to look like, what the mature people and the others pay attention to is who's developing the talent, who's actually going to be calling the plays, who's going to get people properly aligned, because the players don't go out there rogue. You just can't go out there and say, we're going to run whatever we run and the coaches have to live with it. So when I'm looking at this, yes, we get a glimpse of talent. We get a look and see how they run around in their shoulder pads, and everybody's catching everything. Everyone can beat everything against air. When it gets competitive and the body starts to have to take, the beats and the bruises, and you have to have the physical part of it, and you have to show up on time, and you have to govern yourself. You got to manage your time. There's these other components that get your team prepared. It's beyond just what we see the guys catching passes and running routes and throwing passes. It's bigger than that. It is the whole body of work. Oh. And now I want to know, where are the players mentally when they come back into the season? Everyone's going to say, hey, I'm coming back. This is our year. The players are maturing. We're going to be ready to go. But it doesn't matter. Everyone's saying that. There's guys who were fourth-year players on other teams that are now fifth-year players. There are guys who are coming from injury that are now coming off of injury that's got something to prove. Every team has pretty much same dynamics.
See, what's the difference? Yeah, with me, the head coach is the guy. He's like your dad, right? He sets the tone. He sets the expectation, and he's the one that has to hold everyone accountable to that standard. And your position coach is like your therapist, maybe even your mom. You know, she's the one you can cry on her shoulder. You can kind of express your thoughts and feelings to. They're the ones that can talk you off the ledge, can help you through and get your mind right for everything. So it is that whole group and that whole balance, and everyone's role inside a team, coaches, players, is unique and different. And when everyone really understands their role and plays it well, man, it's like beautiful and it's magic.
Let's take a look at. I want to hit a couple of these up. So Scott, some people, we got Michael Miller. He asked a question: what position do you think the Lions are weak at? You go, and then I'll throw in what I think on that. So, what positions do you think the Lions are weak at? And for those, we want this to also be interactive. So, throw in the chats here those positions that you think that the Lions are weak at, or where you think it should be. Throw those inside of our chat.
I know in the secondary that's a big question that's going on. I think the offensive line, they've had some additions there that, if the changes, everyone feels like Penei Sewell is good and he'll be great in his new position, but it's still new and it's still different. The biggest thing I've learned through my experience with sports and in the NFL is so often you go into a season, you go, well, these guys are inexperienced. They don't look good. They're not, maybe not look good, maybe isn't the right thing, but it's just inexperience. It's unproven. And so often those end up being some of the strongest parts of your team, and things that you count on that are just rock solid for whatever reason just aren't. And a lot of that's because of injury or, other circumstances. So, it's a great question to ask. Just on the surface, you'd say secondary offensive line may be the big question marks, but everyone knows that in the Lions organization. So they're doing, and everyone on a team, so they're doing everything they possibly can to make sure that those things don't happen. And whatever everything is today, it's nothing. Like there's no pads on. It's not live. There's no live bullets happening. I saw this thing from Tom Brady, and he was talking about these guys are on the practice squad and they look great on the practice squad. And then the minute they were going to get elevated to play in the game, it was like they were different players. And that pressure of playing is a real thing. And guys are either ready to handle it or they're not. And you don't know until you actually get there.
No, there was one question I want to go back to from David. He had a question for us. He says, dude, I want to know how it was for you guys. We'll pull it up. So, dude, I want to know how it was for you guys when you played. Do you honestly feel the Ford family is committed to winning a Super Bowl back when you played or now? Example, letting Kevin Glover go, etc. We are worse this year than last year. Never a big free agent signing since Scott Mitchell and Dre Bly. So,
I'll give you my honest answer.
Right.
I think at least it felt like there was a lot of people inside the organization who really were very talented and very good. And a lot of them were in the scouting department. Kevin Colbert, Ron Hughes, those guys left kind of midway when Bobby Ross got hired. They went to Detroit, or they went to Pittsburgh, and of course won Super Bowls there. Kevin ended up being the GM for the Steelers, had massive success there, and they were really good. I mean, there were a lot of really good things in the org, really good players, as you mentioned, David, and just not a sense of how to put it all together. And it always felt like to me with the Lions, the owners, that were more concerned about their perception in the public. And so much of what they were thinking the public felt, they made decisions off of. And it always felt not grounded in the smartest thing to do, but grounded in emotion, grounded in, what would have them coming out on top at the end of the day. But I can tell you, I never really felt like, oh yeah, I can tell you other places I played, Miami Dolphins, like it was about winning a Super Bowl every single year. And that was very clear. And I can't say that was what I felt when I came here from here in Detroit.
So I'll say with that, I felt that Mr. Ford Sr., when speaking with him and talking to him, that he really wanted a winner. He really wanted that. He was passionate about it. He had a personal touch and a feel to it. somewhere along the way, as he was less involved, it seemed like it was less about that. It became more business based, and it was a lot of pressure and not inner fighting, but it seemed like you were competing with what the administrative and the organizational side wanted on the business side versus what they wanted to understand you could acquire through just winning. You can up the franchise, whether it's the value, whether it's marketability, whether it's bringing in new talent by just simply winning. When it became almost a us versus them, and it was about how to save money versus paying players, it wasn't like the sacrifice you see talking to players say, hey, will you take a pay cut, or will you restructure so that we can keep these core players? It wasn't about that. It was, we can't keep you because we have to pay that player. And so now you're having this attrition, and you're having this inner fighting that takes place, because now you're competing with to get paid. You had to really basically be at the expense of the value and the opportunity for the team. So it's different now, and I think they've been able to bring it back. I think it's helped because the money has gone up. I think there's been a little bit more flexibility. There's more marketability and money that is being spread and used, so the organizations don't have to rely solely on what they can keep versus it's all about attracting the talent and paying, because they know they can make it up in marketability, and they can make it up in valuation of their franchise. So I think the dynamics of that has changed. When you talk, and I think the other one you talked about, Kevin Glover, Lomas, and some of these other guys, Scott, myself, all that, you start to break up a team. You start to make it to where it's no longer one where players are happy. So now the entire organization is upside down. You bring in Matt Millen, you bring in a guy like Bobby Ross, who has a difference of opinion, and it's not to beat on these guys, but you can see where the franchise completely lost cohesiveness. It lost purpose. And if you don't have purpose, and that's all we keep hearing with Coach Campbell is purpose. We hear them, he's talking about, togetherness. He's talking about the importance of attitude and integrity. And then upstairs, they care about the moves that they're making as it relates to the position in which it makes them look like to their peers.
What's a solution to a lot of the money side of this? And, because you have to some degree, rob Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. And because you have a budget, you have a cap, is just take the quarterbacks out of the cap. Just have your cap and just have a special cap for the quarterbacks. It's just because quarterbacks just for whatever reason make so much of the percentage of the salary cap. So just take them all out, and it would be a better league, because you would maintain a lot of the things that you're talking about, where you're creating this chemistry and this continuity with players. And it would certainly eliminate. One of the other things too about the Lions, it in our time, it just felt like there were 400 vice presidents, like vice president for jockstrap control. I mean, it's just all kinds of stuff, right? It just and everyone was jockeying for a position, a power seat, seat where I want to be in this thing, as opposed to Eddie DeBartolo, who was massively successful with San Francisco 49ers. He said, the players are what it is, and I'm investing in players, and I'm going to take care of you as a player. I'm going to make you feel like you're worth something. And it was counter to really almost everything that was going on in the NFL at the time. And so the players were, they wanted to play for him. They were invested in it, but he put them in a position where they could really flourish. And so he got input from the players. Now, if the players didn't come through, then that was a different deal. But it was all about the players, and that's what the game is always about. It's always about getting the right players on the field and really taking care of them, and that's where you can really win. And I to some degree feel like the Lions kind of are doing that now, but it certainly wasn't that case back when we were with the team.
All right, so let's take a real quick pivot, because we want to make sure when we do our lives again. Thank you all so much for coming in again, Dave. Thanks a lot for that. Patty, thanks for joining. Eric, what's up, Pastor? Chef Nikki and Mike Miller, thank you guys all for coming in. Nicole, let's go in, because I know there's a few things we want to do on today's show. I want to look at some clips. We're gonna take some more questions, and so I want to queue up Chrissy right now, and Martin, thank you both for all the work that you do. We want to pull up a couple things today that we want to go through on some clips. So we'll have Chrissy come in and cue us on a couple of those clips for me.
You're going to change structurally to kind of, maybe potentially mitigate that?
Yeah, we're going to push it. We're going to push. That's what we do, and but we'll do it smart. We got to get these guys ready for a season. There's a chance we play some of these guys in the preseason without the joint practices, and so, I'm going to do what I think is best to prepare these guys for 17 weeks, but also understand that, man, we got to be smart about it, and we can't break them in training camp. And so the approach will stay the same. It will. And you got to get ready, and you can't let fear of injury scare you away from what you believe in.
I think one of the best things about Coach Campbell is that he was a former player. And I think there's an art, and I think there's a necessary process to preparing your team to be ready for the season, to get through the whole season, and how you practice. And I just get a sense, and I've heard him talk about this in the past. I mean, I heard him a long time ago when the Hard Knocks was around, and he talked about, he said, "Hey, sorry guys, I had to put you through that, but you got to be ready for the season. You got to get your body tuned to the physicality of what it is, and we have to push it." And so I think he's probably as prepared and as adept at understanding this balance that, probably more so than most coaches, because he was a player.
So that is a great point. I one thing, there was another comment I went through, and I want to make sure we go back and take a look at. One of the biggest thing is health. Coaches talk a lot about getting their players prepared. The health issue is one that has kind of been looming a little bit for the Lions. It's one that has, I think, caused the fans to almost take a position, if we didn't have injuries and if our team was healthy. Right. And I try and also jump in at times and say, okay, well, we can't really use that as an excuse. We really can't talk about, when you get healthy, staying healthy is not really your choice, is not really your option, as much as you want to field as healthy a team as you can. Injuries are going to happen during the natural course of the game. It is a physical sport. How do you prepare for that is, you really don't. You have to play, and then you have to be prepared with whoever the depth is. And that's why preparation of your depth at position is critical. Think about it. If we had to sit here and say, if I'm going to look to destroy the Detroit Lions right now, you can pick probably 3, 4, 5 players easily of a roster of 50 plus players and say, I can completely destroy this team and take them out of contention for everything by losing these key players. Yep. If you don't have people developed, that's why depth is important. And I don't know, if I had to credit the Lions with one thing, it would be, I think they prepare the players who aren't starters to come in and do whatever they can. They get the best out of their backups. They get the best out of the guys that aren't the starters. So when they come in, there is a little bit of time they're able to kind of buy because they're not unprepared. And that's one thing I've really enjoyed seeing about this team. So thanks again for that question. But yes, that was a key component, I think, that gets overlooked a lot of times, is the health factor when it comes to football teams.
Yeah, and when you say depth, part of depth is, managing games to where you're keeping your guys as fresh as you possibly can, not only through a game but through the season. So that's why you see a lot of these rotational players. Everyone talks about the running back position, and is it, is Jamar is he going to be the bell cow kind of thing? Well, yeah, but he's still gonna get rotation, because you need that player to play all the way through the season. So a lot of times you see that with the running back position, where it's not necessarily by committee, but it's by design to keep you guys fresh throughout the season and healthy. Same thing, you'll see that a lot on the defensive line. Offensively, you don't really see it on the O-line but you'll get rotational players because guys get injured, and you want players on your offensive line. And when you're talking about depth and keeping people healthy, You want offensive linemen that are multi-dimensional, that they can play, three or four positions on that offensive line. That's a guy that becomes extremely valuable to you for that depth question. But I'm curious, Herman, where is the line, right? Because you got to practice. There's got to be some physicalness to it, and is that line different today than it was back in the day, or because there are teams like talk about the Washington Redskins, they're in full pads on Friday, banging it away, and then you have the 49ers that never really hit each other during the week. So where do you think the balance is? How much should you hit?
I wish we didn't hit as much. That's a good question. Let me think. Let me dial it back, because I don't want you all to think that what we shy away from it. You understand? We come from a time when you were in pads 3 days out of the week, and then even on Friday you were typically in shoulder pads but no lower pads, so that way people wouldn't tackle. They stay off your legs, and then Saturday was a walkthrough. Monday was a walkthrough, and then we were punished if we lost or if we had bad performance. You had to come out and actually practice, and then we did extra running if you didn't hustle. So it was a different time period than what we see now. You have to have the physical side of the game. You can't replicate it in practice by going all out. So that's pointless, because you're going to injure your own players and you win nothing. That's why it's important to get as much of it in, early, preseason.
Yeah.
When you look at training camp, I love the fact that you bring in these other teams and they play against each other. I think that gives you that game feel and that preparedness, because the body reacts differently. You're on a different mindset. Your body, I think, responds differently. I think you're more apt to get hurt in practice when you're going light than when you're actually going after it, because you're a little bit more tuned in. So it's one of those. It's been an age-old thing. Do you hit more? Do you hit less? Do you run more? Do you run less? Do you rest? The season's not long enough right now for players to rest. I think you shorten the practices. You have the intensity. You sharpshoot, and you get what you need to get done on the field. And then you need to spend more time, I think, in the locker room, because that's where we see most of the mental mistakes occur. We don't look out there and go, these are some really untalented players. We go, these players aren't playing smart, right? They're not in tune with certain things. But
so I'm going to say something that might shock you.
No, Scott, there's not much you could say to me that shocks me.
Every week as a quarterback, you get beat up. And I don't think people realize this, and you don't see it as much today, but man, every time you threw the ball, I'd say almost 60% of the time you're going to get hit, and you couldn't defend yourself. So it wasn't like you were protecting. You had to throw the ball and just take the shot. And so for me during the week, it was just recovering, and I didn't get hit, or I wasn't hitting anyone during the week, but I was recovering because you take a beating as a quarterback. And so being able to manage that and work through that is a very challenging thing, even at the quarterback position, because, everyone thinks, well, you guys don't hit anybody. It's like, no, but we get hit, and you just don't know about it.
Yeah, I want you guys to continue throwing some questions at us. We enjoy you being a part of our chat. Those of you that are on here, please continue to let people know that Scott and I will be going live once a week at a minimum, and we look forward to the engagement. We will be talking a lot, just to give you just some background on it. We'll have highlights. We'll talk about some of the news that has happened in Lions Nation. We'll talk about some of the stuff that Coach Campbell and his staff are talking about, but also talking about things that are happening around the league as appropriate and as we see fit. But more importantly, we come on these live chats really for you. It's for you to throw comments at us. It's for us to answer some of your questions. And he and I will continue to always talk, because we like to talk all the time. So we have some great conversations in the background. I'll see if Chrissy I know she has a few things for us to continue to go through. So we're going to continue to bring up some of the videos, and we want you to be able to look at those with us while we comment on them. And please, again, throw your questions in there, and we'd love to hear that.
There's one right here. Is there a particular interview? This is by @DC8091. Super fan, love it. Is there a particular interview that Coach Fonts gave you guys remember, cracked up when you heard? Okay, it wasn't an interview, but it dealt with me directly. We had a Halloween party, and I dressed up as Coach Fonz.
Everybody remember that. That's iconic here.
No, it's a big deal.
Yeah. That was Mickey Mouse and the cigar.
Yeah, I had the Mickey Mouse ears, a cigar, and the sweats on, and the pillow under my. I don't need the pillow anymore.
So you were over there stealing stuff from the locker room just to come over there.
More or less, yeah. It's like I just kind of basically pillaged my locker room. I didn't. Yeah, and it was an awesome Halloween party because guys went all out in their costumes or whatever. So I went to the party as Coach Fonz, and I didn't, and it was a private party. It was like a team party. And so Johnny Morton was doing stuff on a TV show on Sunday nights, and he brought the TV crew because he thought, well, this will be fun. We'll get some footage, behind the scenes stuff, Lions at their private Halloween party. So the guy on the camera, I don't even know who it was, he's interviewing me and I'm talking as Coach Fonz, and I just let loose. And I think one of the things I remember I said was, I'm on the seafood diet. Whenever I see food, I eat it, and it was, I was teasing Coach Fonz like any of us would in a private setting. Right. Well, the camera, they of course, it hit the news that night. It was all over the place. It was on ESPN. It was everywhere. My parents were just furious with me because I was making fun of my coach and what have you. And what made it worse was the game before. So the Halloween's on Monday, and on the Sunday game, Coach Fonz benched me. So everyone thought I was doing it as retaliation.
But be honest, were you?
There was a hint. There was a hint of it. It was like, it was my sarcastic way of getting my own revenge. Okay, I admit it. Fine.
I'm just saying, man. I had to pull it out of you, man. It just seems like it was just like, you just pulling us along. You pulling us along, and I'm like, I don't know, man. That just sounds. It sounds like there was
some anger,
intention.
There was some anger, no question. Anyway, so Coach Fonz calls me in his office on Tuesday, which is our day off. So I'm like, oh man. Coach Fonz is probably pissed and he's, mad because it's all over everywhere, right? And you got to answer to all this stuff. And I go in his office, I sit down, and he says, so I understand I was at a party last night. And I said, yeah, you were. And he says, well, did I have a good time? And I said, yeah, you had a really good time. He said, all right, that's all I need to know. As long as I had a good time, we're good. And he took it graciously. And I think he knew for the most part the spirit with which it was, I don't know. I didn't always have the greatest relationship with Coach Fonz, which is unfortunate, but regardless, I thought his way of handling it was absolutely beautiful, better than the way I handled it. So,
I think, one of the only one there's one I could think of. And it was when we were down in Virginia, and Coach Fonz came to visit with me for my pro day before I got drafted by the Lions. And when he came, he basically said, go get ready. I got on all my gear. I went and got my cleats, my shoes, my gloves, everything. And he says, we're going to go and have your pro day. I want to work you out one-on-one. And we're going to go over to Scott Stadium. That's the football field, our main field for UVA. And when I got there, man, I'm loosening, I'm warming up, I'm getting all loose. I'm running, some back and forth. I'm running across the field. I'm doing all the exercises, right, and all the drills to get loose. I'm thinking like, man, where's like the quarterback? Where's everyone? And then he had already gone and talked with the media, and I didn't know that. And what he had basically alluded to is no matter what, if Herman Moore is available with the 10th pick, we're going to take him. And I'm thinking, man, like when he came to do this workout with me, that he was going to, get some film, do some whatever. I'm like, man, there's no cameras here. There's no other scouts. There's nothing. And we walked literally around the field 3 times just talking. And he's telling me about Detroit. He's telling me about the run and shoot offense. He's telling me about Willie Green and the quarterbacks. And we got this young quarterback and Andre Ware, and he's going to be our next guy and all this. And all of a sudden we stopped. And I said, okay, it's, we're getting ready to work out. And he goes, no, he says, that was it. I just wanted to talk to you. And that's all we did. We just walked around the field for 3 times. And he lucky it worked out, because if you remember, I dropped a lot of passes, not in camp, not in all that. It was just one preseason game that was awful. And yeah, it would have been awful if they'd found out that I was a bust or something like that. And all we did when he evaluated me, his way of evaluating me was, let's walk around Scott Stadium 3 times.
He said really quick.
Oh, there it is. Look, we got the clip right here. Play the clip. Oh, it's not the clip. That's the. Well, I know, Pastor. You said, and he's Pastor's Eric E. Dub. Man, that's my guy. They said unless the video or a photo actually existed, then they call BS on you and dressing up like Coach Fonts. So there it is.
There it is.
There it is.
It
There's the infamous. and look, man, you actually even wearing 19. You still got that?
No, my family stole all that.
No,
stuff.
if you had that man, you know what? You ever watch this thing called Whatnot?
Yeah,
or
no.
eBay Live,
Yeah.
and all that? Like that would go in a heartbeat.
That would totally.
That would definitely go.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I would bid. I would start if you did $1 auction starting it out, I would bid on that at least $5.
I think I'd actually buy it myself. I'd buy it for myself. Okay, so there was one more with Coach Fonts. It was funny. When I signed in Detroit, you know, they have the ceremonial hold up the jersey kind of thing, and you're at the podium and all this stuff. And he goes, "Look, I'm a defensive coach, but I know this. Barry can run the ball, so hand the ball off to him. Herman can catch the ball, so throw the ball to him. And that's all you got to do." And that's pretty much what happened. So
how'd it work out for him?
Yeah, he's a smart coach.
Yeah, he did okay.
Yeah.
Again, thank you all for joining in and coming in. KC, appreciate you, man. Hey, Scott. Hey, Herm. Fred, thanks for joining in. I know Dave. We've said what's up to you as well. But let's see what we got here. Let's throw up some more of these comments, Chris. What do we got? Give me some more comments. All right, so 1995 Lions versus the 2026 Lions. 1995. I mean, I thought that was going to be a hard question. So that's like giving us a cheat. That's like giving us no. No.
Here's what's funny about the 95 Lions. And this was I can't throughout the years, I can't tell you how many people have said, "Man, I love playing with the 1995 Lions on Madden." Now, I know they changed it after a while, but for years, 95 Lions were a great Madden team to play. We were watching some highlights earlier, and it was just like, man, it was so much fun. That just magical time.
Yeah, let's show us a 94 highlight. But I do want to say this. You know, a lot of people always think, I know what I never understood, like why people get upset when they go, "Man, the old heads or the older guys, the vet, they always talk about their years." I mean, we can't talk about 2025 or playing in 24. We didn't play then. We played in our time. Yeah. And when we look at the game, I'm telling you, we can see the game and we understand how we would have played. Now, some guys will say they could have played in all eras. They could have done this. They could have done. I get it, right? So y'all can call a lot of crap on some of that and BS on some of those. But I'm telling you, those who know. Those who know who could have played in different eras and who would have still been there, you know, whatever, are they know. And y'all already know. Y'all already know what I think. I can't speak for you, Bill. So let's go. Let's see let's pull up this 1994 clip. Week 3. 94 at Dallas.
Monday night.
So it's third down.
Reigning Super Bowl champion.
The Lions have it.
Sean Bowers.
Look at that young man right there.
Hey, man, what do you think about those outfits, man? I always like those throwbacks right there.
When I first put it on, I hated it.
Really?
And then after about 5 minutes, I'm like, these are pretty cool.
Yeah, those look pretty good.
All blue socks.
It's funny, when Barry would run on these, his feet looked like they were moving even faster. Lomas flinched a little bit there.
He did, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Al Michaels.
I like that.
See, I told you to throw it to Herman.
Yeah. And Kevin Smith, man. I used to get in fights all the time. I don't even know why I would get in fights so much, man, with the defensive backs. Defensive backs and I would go in it all the time. Go.
And here they go on the long third down. And you know what?
That's a good
ball
catch.
was high and behind
Right. That's the way
You
to
know
throw it
why
up.
I was high and behind?
Yeah, because you want me to get blown up by that safety. They don't understand. I saw Washington coming up. Look at me, young Jason Hanson, crooked helmet and all. You know, it's funny, man. Like our faces started to fill out a little bit more in the helmets as we got older.
Yeah.
But when we all came in, man, they were just loose. It was
just skinny.
Yeah. That was good. You know, that 95 game was really cool. Because back then, unlike the Lions now, you know, they get a lot of nationally televised games. you got social media, you have access to so much digital content and accessibility that when we played on those, I mean, if you had 2 or 3 national televised games and you weren't Dallas, Green Bay, San Francisco, or some of those teams, right?
Yeah.
It was a special thing to do. And I don't know if that's lost its steam and its aura that used to be there, like you're on national TV, because now it seems like everyone's on a national channel
Right.
to a certain degree. You're just playing in a different place and people are picking and choosing which of those games. So is there truly a national game? You know what I mean? Like, is there truly like one
Right.
nationally televised? I mean,
maybe
you know what I mean?
Sunday
'Cause you
night
can get 'em.
football is the one that's maybe the one, that's the one that most people tune into.
When there's only
People
limited
tune in.
teams that are playing at certain slots, like
yeah.
Monday night
Yeah.
at 1 or 2 slots, and then if you could do a Sunday night game at 1 slot, they're gonna probably have 2 or 3 of those coming up soon too.
Thanksgiving was amazing here. Monday night football was always that, in our era, Monday night football, that meant something. That was a big deal. And you knew everybody was watching you. And we got a lot of those games in our time, which means we were a good team. Look, I played in Cincinnati my last 2 years. You know how many games we had past 1 o'clock in 2 years? 0. Every single game was a 1 o'clock game for 2 years. Like nobody, I don't even think anyone knew that we even played or existed. And so the fact that we had a lot of games in that era meant that we were interesting and fun to watch.
Yeah, let's look at some of the. We talked about the '95, right? And we just mentioned, and unless your fingers are broken, we were asking you a question on whether or not would you take the '95 or the 2026. So if you guys have any comments on those, or you got any, just put 25. I mean, put 95 or put 26 in there into the comments. I'd love to see what that is. Let's take a look at some of the current plays. Let's look at some of the current players there. Let's pull those up. All right, so let's go back to some of these interviews. Here's Tesla.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of things. You got things you can do in the weight room, and there's things you can do like jump rope, cone drills. Like you can do with field work. Are you asking like specifically, or just in general?
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah, just in general, those things.
Where did you do some of that work this offseason?
Some of it, I was back home on the west side, and then I was down in Fort Myers at X3, training with Jordan Llewellyn for.
so all right, so Chrissy's given us a few things there that we're pulling up. We're gonna bring up another clip, but him going into his second year, Scott, the importance. You're quarterback, and I came in and it was a run and shoot. Willie Green was 6'2", 6'2.5", could jump out of the gym, but he was considered the big guy. Then you brought in myself and Reggie Barrett, 6'5", 215, 20 pounds each, and could run, could play across the board. And then
Reggie, he played at Syracuse?
He was at UTEP.
Oh, UTEP.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he came out. He was actually the number 1 ranked guy. They actually dubbed us the Twin Towers when we first got here. And we were supposed to be the X and the Z, and we were going to be the 2 dominant guys that were going to just change the landscape in the receiving position here. Things didn't quite work out on his side. On my side, I was a little bit slower getting started. But when you look at Isaac Tesla, the Lions have always kept, it seemed like in Coach Campbell's era, they've always kept the 1 big receiver or 2 big receivers. We've seen the history of big receivers in the NFL, and then also in the Lions organization, they've always had that big dominant. He's always open, kind of get him to kind of pass. Kind of receivers has been something I think this organization has coveted. For you as a quarterback, I would imagine we talked about it, the advantage. I mean, you don't want to use that as I won't call it the cheat code, but is it a bailout player, or is it a player that you say really can compete and give you those advantages?
Well, there's a couple things. One, so going into your second year, that in and of itself is a game changer, because your rookie year, you're seeing everything for the first time. And so it's like you're drinking to a fire hose. You're easily distracted. You're trying to find the mental focus that it takes to get through an NFL season. And it's a big leap from college in so many areas. the physicalness of the game and just the whole thing, and learning a new offense and a greater responsibility. These offenses are complex, and it's a lot to know and to learn and to be able to just go out and play. So you come into your second year and you go, it's a huge leap, just that in and of itself. So that's a really good thing for a second year player, I believe. I'm sure you've experienced that in your time, and I think everyone just goes through that maturing process. But when you have a big receiver, it's as long as you have a quarterback who understands how to throw to a big receiver, and really, and big receivers sometimes are tight ends. And it's a very similar type of thing, how these quarterbacks throw to these tight ends. So you get a lot of back shoulder throws, you get a lot of higher pass, all these different things, or and it's using, if you're not using the height and the bigness to your advantage, then it's a waste of time. And you really have to throw the ball and utilize that advantage, or it means nothing. So as long as the quarterback understands it, a wide receiver understands it, then it's like, it's magic. It's like, and I think that was one of the things with you that, like, it was an adjustment for me because I'd never played with like because you were such a dominating force against, pretty much everyone you played against. But it was learning how, and I've said this a million times, but learning how to throw to a guy that looked like he was covered, and you're actually not. And once you figure it out, it's like I've said as well, you can throw it to you every time, so that just gives you as a quarterback massive confidence to know that you have that, I don't know, safety valve, that, that kind of back pocket ace in your sleeve kind of thing. It's a huge comfort zone, especially when you got to convert third downs and keep drives alive.
Yeah, let's look at a couple of these. You remember Mel Gray?
I do.
Yeah. How many years was Mel Gray here with you?
I want to say maybe 3
years. Now, for those, I don't know. Again, I'm gonna ask you all also as you're looking at this from the comments, though, because I want them to also interact and engage us in the comments. Like, I'm gonna ask a few questions, just throw them in there, and we'll pull up a few of those. But it's interesting, like the kickoff. Like, I miss kickoff.
1,000%
and kickoff return. I miss really. I don't even feel like punting is kind of okay, but the kickoff and kickoff returns. I get the injury piece. They're trying to make the equipment better. They're trying to make rules better. But man, what a difference! If you want to change one thing, maybe figure out a different way for the onside kick. Like, maybe get rid of that and see if there's something else that could be done to make it to where it at least is competitive to kind of recover it. Or is it something else we can do to try and give you an option of getting the ball back versus this less than 1% opportunity to get an onside kick?
I have a great solution for that.
But here's where I'm going, though. But here's where I'm going. Like, that aspect of the game completely went away, which I hated, because I'm going to tell you right now, for those who don't, those of you who are younger or just now getting involved with looking at the sports over the last 5 years, whatever it may be, since probably Devin Hester and maybe, you had Dante Hall, you had some, it went away.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, that was one of the most explosive, just dynamic plays in football that they could, like, you got rid of one of the funnest, one of the most explosive, toughest thing. When you talk about all players having to be on one accord at a given moment, it was so much happening on kickoff and kickoff returns that I don't think we fully appreciate. If they had highlights, you could go back and just watch kickoff and kickoff returns. You could probably find some really cool stuff that is happening around the football, with the football, the blocking schemes, the wedge breakers and busters that used to come down, and then the guys would score touchdowns to those that would get knocked out. I mean, it was everything in between. It was like a game in a game by itself. And I actually missed that. I get the safety. Gosh, I get it. But I missed that.
A guy like Mel Gray, a guy like Devin Hester, like, you would watch. Because you're like, this guy, like, he touches the ball, he can score a touchdown. And I think the guys that were blocking knew that as well. So they tried harder, and it made it even better. And I asked Mel, I'm like, dude, man, like, you are lightning in a bottle. Like, you're amazing. I go, why don't you, like, how come you're not? Because he didn't play wide receiver. Like he was technically a wide receiver, but he never was in the game as a wide receiver, or maybe at least in my time. And I'm like, man, we got to get you on the field. We got to get the ball to you on the field. And I don't think he's like, no, man. he's like, I'm a returner. And I think he really felt that like he was more comfortable in that than actually going on the field as a wide receiver. And it was just something
Mel,
yeah.
I got to tell you one interesting story. Mel, if you happen to be listening, which I doubt you are right now, but at some point this may get back to you. This is the funniest thing. So everyone used to come over to the fans, and because Mel used to, be able to take it to the house. And when he had a scene, he was gone. Boom, he's gone. And we came in, we were playing the Saints. We were a away game. And they said, Dave Levy was the offensive coordinator. He said, listen, they put the pressure on the fans. You guys put so much pressure on them. Said Mel Gray needs to become part of the receiving unit. The reporters, everyone. So they put Mel Gray in. We practiced all week long. The whole time we said, Mel, we gave him one play. We gave Mel one play to run. And that play was a 5-yard hitch route.
Simplest play there.
Simplest play. You run 3 steps. Quarterback takes a 3-step drop. He throws it to you. Boom. You catch it. We figure if Mel could get in his hand, because Mel had good hands as a receiver. Yeah. One play, y'all. He runs a takeoff. He runs a take. Where did you even come up with the takeoff? You shouldn't even be running a takeoff. Takeoff wasn't even in your cards. It was if you go further than 3 steps, you've done too much. And he ran a takeoff.
Wow.
And he never played wide receiver ever again for the Lions. We never put him back in. Not even when the game was out of reach, whether we were behind or whether we were hit. Yeah. He never ever got a chance to go back in as wide receiver.
That's too bad.
It was too funny.
Yeah,
but that was funny. So Scott, we got another question that came in from Get Back _ Joe. All right. Hey Scott, what do you think about Bobby Ross?
Really? Oh man, and they're all capitalized too. Bobby Ross is all capitalized there. So here's the thing. This is what was challenging.
Let me ask you this: are you going to water it down, or are you going to give it to him?
I don't know. If you get me going long enough,
don't go crazy. Chrissy said, "Don't go crazy."
I'm not going to go crazy.
All right, you sure? All right.
No, I'm probably
all right.
I can look at this analytically, and here is the challenge. The way we were built as an offense did not match his style. That's really the bottom line. And there's 2 coaches in the NFL. There's a coach that says, I'm a system guy and I'm going to run my system. And I'm going to get people that fit in my system. Or there's a coach that goes, I got this and I'm going to tailor my system to fit what the talent of the people around me is. And that's what we really had done. So Barry is a very unique talent. Barry's not a power running back. Barry is not even I would even say a running back. Like he's not going to run up and like we were watching this film earlier and about the Green Bay Packers and how their defensive line, like everyone dared Barry Sanders to run inside tackle. He wasn't going to.
They played the wide 9. They before it was called the wide 9. Yeah. Those guys would go really really wide to try and force them back on the
and
inside.
Just wasn't going to do it. So that was the biggest challenge, and what was an even bigger challenge was, there was no compromise. It was like, it's my freaking way or the highway. And it was so frustrating to me because Bobby Ross shows up and I'm going into my 8th year in the NFL. I've been in some of the best offenses ever in the NFL. You know, I was raised and, taught by Don Shula and Dan Marino, like for 4 years. Like I know what great offensive football is. I had a great system when I was in college. We had Tom Moore here in Detroit, and really was the genesis of Tom Moore leading him to a 49-year career in the NFL. And it was our offense and what we did. And so going to Bobby Ross, and I'm like, we're like a bunch of thoroughbreds here, running like a bunch of Clydesdales trying to deliver Budweiser to the local pub. And we're just so much better than this. And it was so frustrating to me how we worked is you just spread people out because that helps Barry run. It creates better and more well-defined mismatches, and it becomes easy. And we were like just running our head against a brick wall, and with a coach that just really was as stubborn as a brick wall, and you couldn't talk to him. And I tried, believe me, I tried my hardest, darndest.
It's all right, champ.
And I couldn't.
It's all right, champ.
And I couldn't audibilize. It's like, if you audibilize, I'm gonna kill you.
All right.
Like, so it was just it just didn't mesh with the personnel we had. It wasn't a good match.
I like Coach Ross.
Whatever.
All right, let's hit a couple of these. Let's run through a few of these, Scott. So I'm gonna pull up a few more. So we have let's do one more, Scott. So Alan, Scott, we got one more for you. Can you see that?
Yes, Scott. What can you tell us about when you played for the Lions with Ross and the coach with the Bengals?
I think probably when you were with them. I think that's when you wanted to throw a couple passes.
Well, no. Well, yeah, there was that. So we played. I came back to Detroit and I was playing for the Cincinnati Bengals. By the way, our head coach was Dick LeBeau, and I love Coach LeBeau. He was awesome, and we had a lot of really good talent when I went to Cincinnati. It was Chad Johnson's rookie year. T.J. Hushmanzada was a rookie. Peter Warwick, who was a really good Darnay Scott.
I remember Darnay.
These guys could play.
I remember Darnay
Corey
Scott.
Dillon was just, man, he was a stud of a running back. Had a really good offensive line. Willie Anderson was one of our guys there. Just like we were not chopped liver. And so we came and played a preseason game here in Detroit, and I was only supposed to play like a series. And I started the game. And I got booed unmercifully, like by the Lions fan. They were, and in fact, my Bengals teammates are like, "Man, what did you do to these people? Like, they hate you.
Man, they just
like,
loved you, man.
Like, unmercifully, they hate you." And they were shocked. And so Coach LeBeau, bless his heart, he kept me in his preseason game. I played the whole entire preseason game, the whole game. Like,
wow.
And it was like our first or second preseason game. And we just threw the ball and ended up beating the Lions. And I'm not gonna lie, we got in the locker room. It was really weird because you know how you're so used to the home locker room, and so I'm in the visitors' locker room and the Silver Dome, and I got up in front of the whole team after the game in the locker room. I said, "Look, I know this game doesn't mean anything to anybody, but it means the world to me to be able to do that, because at the end of the day, the folks, and I'm sorry about it, Detroit Lions fans, but it was good. It was good revenge on Coach Ross. No
hey, man,
question.
why are you trying to give back all the goodwill, man?
I know that's kind of bad.
Yeah, man, that's why I'm not gonna ever let you have the mic anymore. So I'm gonna take over. So another from Alan. Herman, which wide receiver is compared to you? Well, as far as doing
compared to you?
Well, yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah. I think.
Man, give me the microphone back.
No, I'm not gonna give it back to you. Listen, I know that we always talk about. I get asked a lot of the question. It used to be when Calvin Johnson was coming through that he was this young player on the rise. He was going to do all these special things. I remember seeing him at Georgia Tech, ACC guy. Had a lot of admiration for his skill sets and what he was able to get done. But just his size and his sheer ability as a wide receiver, what immediately jumps off the page at you, because he had all the attributes that you typically would only find either in a small receiver that was fast,
right,
and that type of thing. And I don't think you would necessarily say a guy like Calvin Johnson was quick as much as he had that long speed, right?
Yeah.
And so bigger guys, we have a little bit of time where we have to get up the field, but our steps are long. So we had some comparisons there. Hands, I think that they're comparable to one another. I was always a hands catcher, and our ability to go up and catch the ball, a lot of people will see the highlights now and say, well, wow, this is the only time it's ever been done. But no, those are the things. If the NFL films will ever let me have my footage, you can see that, we were going up, we making big plays, not just myself, but other players, going up over one guy, two guys, three guys, whatever, and making those type of plays. But you can see it more often now. So those things have existed. It's like none of us are really the originators as much as we continue to evolve and we continue to grow certain aspects of a game because we have something to look at. When I came in, nobody wanted the big wide receivers because they thought that we were not big enough to play tight end, and they thought, we were too big to play wide receiver. And what I was able to prove is that, no, you can have a big dominant wide receiver that changes how defenses have to draft your how they have to guard you. You start to pay more attention to how your coordinators can stop those type of challenges. And then you also gave this bigger radius to your quarterbacks that, unlike the smaller receivers, they have to run under it, or they have to be open, or they have to do all these things. And then being a hands catcher just gave me the opportunity to where you couldn't even cover me with a big guy, right? So those are the things that changed a little bit. And then, so if I had to compare closely to one person, it would be myself and Calvin. That's why, I have to take the name Optimus Prime and let him stay with Megatron versus, the Calvin Johnson before Calvin Johnson. I'm going to just be Optimus Prime. I'm going to give myself my own thing.
Well, I think the bottom line with those names, they're both really cool.
Yeah, well, I had to come up with a cool name because
cool.
Mitchell DeMore. Okay, that's cool. That's just our last name, and then
Rhymes.
and all that. Yeah, I had to give myself something. So what about Johnny Morton? So you got J Mo back then, you got the J Mo now. In the comments, let me know: do you take the J Mo now, or do you take the Johnny Morton J Mo from back in the '90s? I would be interested in seeing what you think about those, because we start comparing some guys. Johnny's been compared to, would he be more like a Golden Tate? Would he be more like a St. Brown? Would he be more like no, Johnny Morton was a really, really good player. And he was one that was, he got caught in between myself and Brett. And then when Jermaine Crowell and I were still here, we still had that big receiver. So he had to still be the X. And then, but Johnny was a highly dependable receiver, and he made big plays, and he had, I guess, more ability than a lot of people realize.
Funny thing about Johnny, you talk about being caught between two really good players. He was frustrated, right? Because you guys were setting records, and he was catching, I don't know, he caught like 65, maybe 70 passes. I mean, he had a really good year, and he was good, but he was like, man, you don't throw me the ball ever. And so he sent me his highlight tape. So he said, will you take this home and watch this? So he was.
So wait a minute, he gave you his highlight tape to prove to you that he could play.
He just wanted to.
But he was the USC guy. And for those of you, already know that St. Brown's one of those guys, and we've had Mark Carrier. Yeah. We've had a lot of USC guys. It's a different culture.
Fight on.
That comes from there.
No, it is. SC guys are.
Hey, Sun God, we got to come on your show sometime because I got to ask you about the brand over there at USC.
So anyways, he and I thought at first it was like a joke, right? Mm-hmm. And he was dead serious, man. And so I took it home and I watched it, and it was all from when he was at USC, because he didn't really have, Lions highlights or whatever. And he goes, I just want you to know I'm a good wide receiver. And I appreciated it. I really did. Like I was just like, yeah, I feel your pain, and I'm not throwing you the ball because you're not good, but it's just like there's just a pecking order here right now, and it is the way that it is.
Yeah, I got a sense of what it felt like on his side later in my career when Coach Ross said, "Hey, you know what? I just think we just want to try something different," and he put me at number 3. So I felt what it was like. So I mean,
right?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Here's another one for you, Scott. You like this one? So you had a red Corvette. Did you ever have a red Corvette? All right. So Scott's red Corvette or Herman's Whale-tail Porsche. Now, I had a Porsche. I did have a Porsche. So I don't know where we got Scott's. What kind of cars did you drive?
First of all, I wouldn't fit in a Corvette. I'm too big, and that's too low to the ground, man. I ain't getting that far down on the ground.
I'm just saying, what did you drive when you were here?
So I had a Lincoln Navigator. I drove that.
I didn't know they had the Navigator back then.
Yeah, it's kind of when they first came out. And
was that like the Expedition was going against that then, right? Maybe the Ford Expedition.
Well, Lincoln was Ford, but
I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
they had that weird thing going.
It was
they had
more
like
of
the kissing cousin
luxury line of a sport SUV, and I loved it. They were great cars. I had a Mercedes S500, but that was after, because you didn't have one of those early, because you had to. It was when Chrysler bought Daimler, so you could actually have a non-American car in Michigan. And I drove in one of my favorite vehicles I had a Suburban, Man, I loved my Suburban. It was like it was because you have like kids and you have, you know, it drove great. And Suburbans today, man, are legitimate. Like I know, but I'm just telling you, Suburban was. Whew.
Yeah, it looks executive. You know, you see people rolling around in Suburbans, man.
Yeah.
You never really
Like, what
technically
important person is in there,
right.
Especially,
you always think someone else is driving that vehicle
Yeah.
for them.
So now I have a Ford F-150 truck.
Well, I like the F-150.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, so I like the one that, you know, when we go rolling out and you do that. Let's look at Patty. Thank you so much for your message too. Detroit has had so much potential over the years. The NFL is getting more and more challenging each year. There is so much talent in all 8 divisions. Let's see. Key is good. Mentality, staying healthy, playing smart, go Lions. I think, you know, mentality is good. Obviously staying healthy and playing smart. And by way of saying play smart, I think, you know, we haven't talked a lot about fourth down. We haven't talked a lot about this new Dan Campbell year and what the expectations should be. We've seen them go through the evolution of the offense. We've seen them go through now a couple of coordinators, few coordinators, and we've seen a lot of in between, but yet the team has still found a way to win. And even though we look at a year like last year and say it was a down year, you think about it, this is a team that has had above 500. And I don't know, you don't get any flowers. We're not giving anyone flowers for that. But I do believe that you've established culture. You've established the fact that, you know, we don't accept mediocrity, and we don't accept seasons where we just have this ebb and flows, like it's up year, down year, up year, down year. We're expecting to be there. And I think because they've seen it so early and as young players, I think that's become ingrained, because you look at the players that are coming in, you know, these guys are coming from some organizations, not organizations, but schools where winning was a tradition. And I think they've brought in a culture that losing isn't something they're really familiar with, which could be a detriment as well, right? Because you don't know how to handle adversity, and you're so used to being the cream of the crop and being on the top that when you start realizing that you have to play not just smart football, you got to be healthy, you have to have the right mentality, you have to come prepared, you have to be cohesive, you have to have all these things in play. That could become a little bit of a challenge. Of one thing that I don't think that a lot of us realize, you know, where does it start to break down a team that is used to winning?
So I you know, as this comment about, you know, getting to and winning a Super Bowl, it's hard. I heard this the other day. Someone said that, you know, sports, the NFL is a losing proposition. I mean, you got a 1/32nd chance of winning a Super Bowl every year. And you look at all 60 Super Bowls, Tom Brady's won 7 of them. Roger Staubach has won 3. Terry Bradshaw's won 4. You know, who else is a bunch of guys have won 3. And all of a sudden you get down, and those are the same teams, right? So now you whittle it down to maybe half of those games where it's probably less than that of a team, just a one-off winning the Super Bowl. And there's not a team that I root for more in all of sports than the Detroit Lions. I want so bad for the Lions to win a Super Bowl because, you know, they've never been to the Super Bowl. And also because, you know, I'm a Lion and I appreciate this fan base here and how passionate, and I've seen it through the years. Everywhere I've lived, there's always Detroit Lions fans everywhere, all across the country. It's incredible how many fans are out there of the Detroit Lions. So to win, you know, it's all about, you know, we talked earlier about depth and about, you know, putting the percentages in your odds and about getting the right mindset as a team and as an organization and praying that you stay healthy and all the breaks go your way. But it is a tough proposition to win Super Bowls in the NFL period. And I know the Lions fans know this, but just trying to stack as much of the percentages in your favor and giving yourself the best odds of winning is really, I think, the very best thing you can do as any organization.
All right, let's hit a couple more of these, and we can go through a few of these a little bit quicker. So Dave's got another one. Let's pull that one up. Do you guys remember that horrible playoff loss in Philly? Why do you got to bring that up, Dave? Made me have to come through there. And that one still stings to this day. what happened, hated the day.
It's this goes to my point, what I just said. There's so much about, you know, you look at like Peyton Manning. I think Peyton Manning went 5 years before he ever won a playoff game. And it's just hard, and we ran up against a Philadelphia team that was, they were just on all four cylinders. I think they scored a special teams touchdown. I think they scored on a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. And I'll just tell you right now, David, we went into that game as confident as you possibly can be. And I'll just tell you, I know as a team, we believe we were going to the Super Bowl that year. I know I felt that way. Brett Perriman got hurt in that game. It changed a little bit of the dynamic of our offense. And we were really, we didn't handle the adversity of the situation to the best of our abilities. And we had a bad day, no question about it. And it was a tough one, but you learn from those tough losses. And that's part of, having the patience and the willingness to stick with that team. And it just takes some time sometimes to really learn and to grow. And sometimes you have to have those stinging losses to where you really learn how to win. And what happened is they just start dismantling things. They start changing things. You get a new coach and react, and in a year or so later, and it's just really hard to keep that continuity going.
Yeah, I'll sum it up. We got our butts kicked.
Yeah,
like, and I think we came out with the right intentions. We just did not get off to the start that is necessary when you have made just such a tremendous run to get to the playoffs. It took us 7 games. We had to win 7 of our last 7 games to get there, and we did all those things. And I won't say we were exhausted, but I think I won't say there's complacency that set in as well, but we knew we were the hottest team coming into the playoffs. And it goes back to the culture piece I just talked about. If you're not used to winning and used to being at the top and understanding the pressure that comes with that, it's easy to run up on people when you come in from behind, when you don't have anything to play for and people don't expect you to win. But when you're sitting there and you're expecting, that's what this team is facing right now. You're expected to win the division. You're expected to go out and really get the return on the talent that you have, the coaching situation that you have of stability, the organization that supposedly, upstairs has all these right tools in place and mechanisms in place to make the right decisions to put your team in the best position to be competitive for years to come, not just in what you see right now. And yet, when you're not hitting it, that pressure will start to mount, because now you look at Chicago, like there's pressure for them to win this year.
Yeah.
But if they fall off the mantle a little bit and it doesn't quite work out, they'll go, oh, wow, they had that one good year, but they got to get back to where they were, right? Coach Campbell and those guys have already gone through that phase in the first part of their tenure, and where people say, wow, they don't have this, they don't have that, they don't have these things. Now that you have it, how do you win while you have it before you lose it? Because you can't stay there forever. It just doesn't happen. Things are going to turn, and then you're going to have your ups and down years. So that window that people really still don't think exists in the NFL, like you have this window. The window is when you kick off that first play of the season until you say you now are eliminated from opportunity to play. That is your window. People think it's like, oh, we got this window of 4 or 5 years because these players are entering a prime. No, you only have it from that first play of the game when the season starts until you realize or find out you no longer are in, whether it's losing in the playoffs, whether it's not making it to the playoffs, or whether it's the last play of your regular season. That's when you know that window is closed. So let's take another couple quick questions here. Kirby Joseph is a player that a lot of fans, if you're a Lions fan, you know how instrumental and important he's been to the Lions secondary, he and Brian Branch. And when we started to see injuries in the secondary, that's when a lot of people started to become concerned, because we knew that they were having problems with applying pressure to opposing teams' quarterback, Scott. They were able to go out there and pick these teams apart. I don't care how great your secondary is, if you don't have pressure and you don't make that internal clock tick and go off for a quarterback, even the most routine and mundane quarterback in the NFL can pick you apart. And with these two guys going down, Brian Branch, having his injury, then you have Kirby Joseph. The concern is that will he be ready to play this year? And if he's not, even if he does come back, does he become a liability if he's not at 100%? And we know you just don't pick up where you left off typically when you come back from an injury, especially when it costs you that many games. So right now, I'll give my first, on this, but I don't know if he'll play this year. That's really hard to guess, and I don't think you can play the guessing game. It has to come down from inside to say this player's a go, no go. And then, as far as my thoughts on it, he's an instrumental part, but it goes back to what I said before. You really have to look at the depth at position, and then you have to look at your coordinators, and you have to look at, how can they game plan around what they will have and won't have. It becomes just as important as a coordinator. When we talk about judging a coordinator, stop telling me about how great people are when they have all the people they can put on the field, how they have no, it's the ones who can come in and say, I don't have everything I need to work with. And then they figure out a way in spite of that to make it happen. Now you go into a different league of respect from me. I can't speak for everyone when it comes to as a coordinator, how you game plan around that.
See, I look at injuries, whether he plays or not this season, who knows? But I look at injuries as a way of creating more depth. And a lot of times when you give someone an opportunity to grow and flourish and to really play, you're often surprised at the results of things. And all injuries for me are just opportunities for a team to actually internally create depth. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you can ride through the injury, you're going to be a better team for it. And he's a great player. And so when he comes back, he's going to be good. But the other side of it kind of pushes him too. Cause he's like, man, I don't want to lose my job. Like everyone who plays is like, I don't want to lose my job. So the way I don't lose my job is I stay on the field and I play. And so we'll see where it ends up. But I'm always a big fan of the opportunity that it creates to create depth.
And Scott, I know this is we'll take this last question here, but I know that we've talked on the offseason. For many of you don't know that we do something in the offseason. I've been doing it now, believe it or not, 30 years. Since I came into Michigan until now, I've supported the first responders, our law enforcement, our public servants. And we play these charity games across Michigan. And there's typically 20 to 25 games we do per year to support them in their initiatives in their community. And there's a comment here from Fred. Fred, what's up? I want to say what's up to him, who's sending in our next question. He's one of the volunteers who've gone there. He's just tried and true man, a great heart person that comes out and does everything. So Fred, we appreciate that. He's also a longtime Lions season ticket holder. So is officiating better or worse, in your opinion?
Well, I think there's
quick answer.
I think there's
better or worse.
I think there's an attempt by the NFL to make it better, and I think there's that commitment to it. It seems like some things are better, but it seems like there's some stuff that just how can you miss that? I just don't know. With all the technology, everything going on, it still feels like there's some bonehead officiating that goes on.
I think it's worse, and I think it's because not that the officials are necessarily wanting. I think the rule changes have made it to where not only are they wanting more play, and I think there's some manipulation. In my opinion, that's happening because, like I go back to what I said before. We're going to let them play and let fouls not be called at certain parts of the game, just so that it's more competitive. Like we said on the Hail Marys and all these things. A penalty is a penalty. We see it not being called. I think some of them are saying, "Hey, if I miss it, it's okay because we can catch it later on, especially if it's not egregious. Then they didn't see it. It's not a big deal." So I think it's not as an art, or I think as
well, roughing the quarterback. Like, how do you call that?
I mean you can you can run by and kind of touch a guy, and he looks up and looks at you, and depending on who it is, it's a foul. It's or some type of a penalty. So I think it's worse. And that hurt. Yeah. Come on, man. You gotta. Scott and I are going to be doing some things. We're going to continue to do some things off off the set and with the Down and Dirty show. But this has been absolutely fantastic. We love coming in here live.
Love this.
We're going to go back over to all of you and just say thanks again for joining us on our live stream. We look forward to doing this. We will be posting the next time we will be live. And again, we use this live session. Scott and I have come in. We have some things that we'll talk about, but this is really a session for you to ask us so that we can give you some of our opinion and to be able to give you just kind of our feedback in terms of what we see in the game, share some of our stories that we've had in past years, give you some insight of what we think about the current status of today's game, but also players that are playing the game, and just to hang out and just kick it with all of you. So thank you again for joining us on this live session of Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell, Herman Moore. We look forward to doing this a lot more. So please check us out next time. Continue to follow us on all our social channels. You can check us out on X. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and obviously you can catch us here. And Chrissy's yelling some other stuff in terms of where we want to be. So, and Mitchell Tamore is our handle, and I should know that. We got it. Yeah, I should know that. Mitchell, and there's Mitchell, and then number 2 Tamore. So check us out there. Thank you so much for being here on our live show, and we'll see you next time. Go Lions.
Until then, we'll see you then.